Browns quarterback Shedeur Sanders injured his oblique Wednesday morning and is questionable for Saturday's preseason game versus the Eagles. Welcome to the 203rd episode of ATL Prime Sports. I'm JJ Jurjevich. Joining me this evening is my fabulous co-host, Todd TC Corder, and of course, our fabulous producer, Wayne Ridenauer. You can catch us all at ATL Prime Sports on Facebook, Instagram, X, of course, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. And if you like the content, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, give us a follow or a review over on Apple and Spotify. At JJ Get You One for my personal X, at RWI Jr. for Wayne, at Corder Todd for TC Todd Corder, and at LG for Real Though, who is out this evening calling the Rome game. Where, if you were able to catch it, it's a free ball game tonight, which is pretty cool, free admission. And I think that's just absolutely awesome what they're doing there. So that's our X's. Wayne, how you doing this evening, buddy?
Well, I'm doing all right, but I did get kind of a little bit disappointed this past weekend. I don't know if anybody watched the end of the show last weekend. I talked about the FedEx golf tournaments happening, near us, and I'll get to see the blimp and everything. Well, guess what? This year they skunked me on the blimp. No blimp. All of the camera shots were done by a little single-engine airplane circling around the golf course. So,
and drones and everything. All the fun's taken away.
Well, so that's all that's going on here. How about you, TC? How are things going down there?
Going well. Speaking of shots, Michael Penix of the Falcons, the quarterback, was involved in a scuffle/fight with the Tennessee Titans during a joint practice today, and I'm thinking, what in the world are you doing? You're the quarterback. You're talking trash. You started the thing. Things started boiling over. Everything got physical. He was in the middle of a pile. He was thrown down to the grass. He really could have gotten hurt. He already has quite a bit of injury history in college from his days at Indiana and Washington, and now you're in the middle of this. What are you doing? You're the starting quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. Act like it.
Yeah, man, let's put it in Lou Holt's terms. Let's get physical. Well, guys, I'm doing great. As we mentioned off air, it's my daughter's 5th birthday today, a big one. She's leaving the toddler stage. So happy birthday, Jordan Eva. I love you, little girl. You made me a girl dad. So thank you so much for that. What's on tap for today? An SEC preview. And we're only just two Saturdays away from week 0. Not this Saturday, the next Saturday is week 0. But just 2 weeks away, folks, and we're kicking footballs off. Week 0, again, just 9 days away. Week 1, the next, which is headline, week 0 does have a pretty good match. Ranked versus ranked, 22 Iowa State at 17 Kansas State. The rest of college football will kick off the next week, as we all know, including the SEC, which we'll preview today. Fellas, let's break down the 2025 SEC football season. Let's start with the quarterbacks, the most important position on the field. Todd, give me some of your impact quarterbacks this fall to look out for in the SEC. We all know the big ones. We can start there. But let's have a good discussion on this. And then our last topic, we'll pick our SEC kind of order of finish or your winners, and we'll have some fun with it. Todd, give me some impactful quarterbacks, man.
Well, I mean, obviously Manning's the guy. I mean, he's not only favored to be the best quarterback in the SEC, but the best quarterback in the country, and he's favored to win the Heisman. ESPN's top 15 most important quarterbacks this season. I mean, the first 3 are all in the Southeastern Conference: Manning, Stockton, and Simpson. That doesn't mean the best, but most important to their team. You look at Nussmeier of LSU, a lot of experience. Sellers, South Carolina. Lagway, Florida. Mateer coming over from Washington State to Oklahoma. Reed at Texas A&M. This may be the year of the quarterbacks in the Southeastern Conference, but my most intriguing one is definitely Ty Simpson of Alabama. I mean, this kid here tried to get the job from Jalen Milroe 2 seasons ago, didn't make it, did play sparingly. played in the South Florida game, which Alabama almost lost. But he stuck with it. He stayed with it. Most kids would have transferred. He stayed in there, and lo and behold, he's starting for the Crimson Tide today. So I really find that intriguing because I feel Alabama's roster is as good as anyone in the country. And, of course, everyone says the question is that quarterback, that they say Simpson and the other quarterbacks have looked very well so far this fall.
Yeah, it's lots. You mentioned a lot of them, and you could go impactful in either way. I'll start out with one that I don't think is getting enough credit, and he took down the Crimson Tide last year. He resides right in Nashville. His name's Diego Pavia. He was granted another year of eligibility. This guy can run it. This guy can throw it, and I'm excited to see what he does. They got the same schedule as last year reversed, so they go to Texas. They go to Bama this year, so those teams are probably going to be licking their chops there. But look, the guy ran for 801 yards last year and 8 touchdowns, threw for over 2,200 yards. He had 20 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. The guy takes care of the football really well. Jerry Kill coached him over at New Mexico. This guy comes over and just beats the whole state of Alabama. He comes in ready and poised, and he's got me believing that this team is national championship or bust. It's what he said the other day on Paul Feinbaum. His coach has got the team buying in, and to me, this isn't your typical Vanderbilt of the last 25, 30 years. This is a guy, an alumni came in, and Clark Lee has turned this program around, brings in Jerry Kill, brings in Diego Pavia, gets the NIL name up. They're ramping up that stadium in Nashville. But don't look now, folks, and don't look around. But I think Vanderbilt might be up on the rise. I don't know if they're going to be the bottom feeder that everybody says they are. Look, I picked them to be like 12th or 13th, kind of in that right at the bottom tier. But I think they're moving up in the world. And with NIL and the transfer portal, they got a bunch of them. And I think Diego Pavia is one of these guys. It's like Stetson Bennett. He's just older than everybody. He's a little bit more mature than everybody. And I think that's going to be one of the more impactful quarterbacks in the SEC moving forward. You mentioned Gunnar Stockton. That's another impactful quarterback. Maybe not because he's the best athlete or the best quarterback in terms of tangibles and statistics and arm size, this and that. Todd, you saw him. This guy can throw it. He broke some Georgia high school records. Guy competed for state championships year after year. And here he is. He's got his opportunity. A kid from Rayburn County's here, and he's not going anywhere. He's got a different style. They rally around him. He had the big game of the big win against Texas, comes in, has an opening touchdown drive in the second half in that SEC championship game, got his feet wet with the start against Notre Dame. Didn't play the best, but didn't play the worst either. Had a pretty decent quarterback rating that game. And let me tell you, there's some other guys, Lenora Sellers, John Mateer, who has just made news in other realms, which is kind of funny, which we think is a drop in the bucket type story. But with the way things are going, this guy has the talent to put Oklahoma on the map again. Coming out from Washington State, transfers in from Washington State, over 3,100 yards last year, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And the guy can run as well, 800-plus yards, and he had 15 touchdowns on the ground. So dual-threat guy, Todd. Your thoughts on Mateer and what Oklahoma could do, and maybe where do you see Oklahoma as a sleeper, or do you think they're a real contender in this conference this year?
Well, I mean, people have got them in the top, 10, 15 in the country. So obviously they're a contender. We'll see. Mateer can sling it. He's had a really good spring. He's had a really good fall camp. Yeah, I'll throw out another name that the big story when Nico went ahead and transferred from Tennessee to UCLA, and then basically it was a trade when Joey Aguilar, who was originally at App State, went to UCLA. Now he's at Tennessee. At Tennessee, you look at their defense. I'm really intrigued. They've got 7 defenders return. This is going to be one of the better defenses in the country. If Aguilar cannot turn the ball over and they can run and set some play action pass and he can move a little bit, Tennessee could be a sleeper in this conference. You mentioned Sellers. Sellers is an amazing talent. I mean, this might be the best year for quarterbacks in the Southeastern Conference in a long, long time. There's a lot of great storylines, and we'll see how they turn out. I mean, it should be a lot of fun. You talked about Stockton. Like I said, I had a chance to call one of his games in the playoffs when he was a freshman at Georgia. He has a really good arm, and we'll see how it turns out. The SEC is wide open this year, and it's
Absolutely.
really hard to predict. It's wide open, man. I think it's as more wide open than it's ever been, just like in college football is as wide open as it's ever been.
100%, Todd, 100% from top to bottom. SEC quarterback play will be some of the best in the Power Four. Wayne, what's your thoughts on the quarterback situation in the SEC, man? You have I forget his name in Auburn, John Arnold. Jay, what is it? I can't think of Auburn's transfer quarterback name.
Yeah, well, it don't matter because I'm not going to
Arnold?
mention him anyway.
but you got a lot of guys in here with experience at other schools. What's your thoughts on the quarterback play in the SEC?
Arnold.
Jackson Arnold. I want to call him Jack Arnold.
Right.
Well, I'm actually focused on two guys independently because they had good years last year with the same teams, and that's Newsmeyer and Sellers. And I think those two are going to be the ones that, if you look at just the statistics, they will probably be ranked 1 and 2 and flip-flopping back and forth throughout the year. And yeah, that's the two I'm looking at, and really everybody else is sort of almost a toss-up as to what may happen.
Yeah, I like Sellers. Like Sellers a lot. 25 total TDs last year, 18 passing, 7 rushing. This guy threw for 2,500 plus yards, only 7 interceptions. Took care of the ball fairly well for a freshman, and he rode a 6-game winning streak at the end. Really got South Carolina in that projected playoff. A lot of people thought, hey, they could be that last team in because of the schedule, because of the way they ended the season. It obviously went a different direction. Sellers is there. We haven't mentioned DJ Lagway yet. If DJ Lagway can stay healthy, Texas has a real shot of opening up the season on a good run. And let me tell you, DJ, if he doesn't go down, he may have beaten the Dogs last year because the Dogs did not have a way to stop him. He could throw the deep ball, play action well. Just like the Cam Newton, you take the step down, you put the shoulder down. It's like it's an RPO, and you know you're throwing it. But man, he can take it down and run it. There's a lot of mobile quarterbacks this year in the SEC, more than in years past. And I'm anxious to see what happens in the SEC in terms of quarterback play, where everybody is. I'm not so high on Arch Manning coming in his first year as a true starter to be the Heisman favorite, but that's what people are betting on. That's all the Vegas line says. Hey, a lot of people are betting that Arch Manning is your Heisman winner. So it's going to be wide open this year. We mentioned basically all the quarterbacks, Marcel Reed, you get Simmons.
We forgot one, JJ, that stands out to me, and that may do well. He's going to take over for Jackson Dart at Ole Miss, and that's Austin Simmons, the sophomore. I'll tell you what, you look at that staff there at Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin and the offensive coordinator, Charlie Weiss Jr. These guys are excellent coaches. They really know how to teach quarterbacks. And if Simmons can pick off where Jackson Dart left off, what Pete Golding is doing on defense, is pretty unique there. They play a lot of, too high bracket safety coverage that you saw at Baylor 2-3 years ago. Ole Miss is an intriguing team to me. There's a lot of top 20 teams in the Southeastern Conference, top 25 teams. There are 10 of them. Usually 10 won't, you probably only see 5 or 6 ranked at the end of the year just because, they're going to knock each other off and whatnot. But this is the most intriguing year that I have seen at the quarterback position in the Southeastern Conference in a long time. And it's really not just about the quarterback, but the play around the quarterback. You've got to have line play no matter what. And there's a lot of question marks on some offensive lines in the SEC this year, and that's going to affect the quarterback play.
100%. Let's move from the quarterbacks and just talk about defenses in general. Then we'll get into schedules and our pick, and we'll just kind of have some fun with this thing. Todd, someone that stands out defensively that you see will make an impact this fall, right off the page, just going to jump out at you. Maybe someone that wasn't in the spotlight last year that you see making a jump this year. Give me a couple defensive players you're looking out for in the Southeastern Conference.
Well, I mean, when you look at this conference, the first position you look at, for me, that you look at, which sets this conference, it set it out, well, except for the last 2 years, is really separated this conference from other conferences, and that to me is the defensive line. I mean, that's where this conference has its bread and butter, the front seven. It just seems their defensive linemen are better than yours. And, I mean, gosh, I mean, you could go anywhere. I mean, Colin Simmons of Texas, Dylan Stewart of South Carolina, two sophomore players. Then you look at Christian Miller of Georgia, the junior. I think he's the real deal. And LT Overton of Alabama. I mean, Xavier Harris, the senior from Ole Miss. Caleb Banks from Florida. I always am intrigued by the defensive play in the Southeastern Conference, and it's always in the front four, and it's it's quickness, and Colin Simmons off the edge for Texas stands out for me big time.
Yeah, I'm looking at another transfer, edge rusher from Nebraska, Princewell. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that name yet. I am terrible with the U's. I just now started to get Ulangalale, and he's gone from college football. So Princewell, the edge rusher from Nebraska, going on to Lane Kiffin's defense over there. You mentioned Paul Golding, a guy, a standout player in the Big Ten last year, had several impactful plays. Guy can get after the quarterback. I love what you said about Christian Miller at UGA. Going to the defensive backfield, I'm looking at KJ Bolden at UGA as well. Got a lot of significant playing time last year. And I think this guy, Buford, Georgia, with the new stadium they got here. He was the last guy to not play in that stadium, it seems like. But no, Buford has put a lot of guys in the SEC and and in the pros. And I think KJ Bolden will be a great player for the secondary of the UGA and Kirby Smart. I just like to see what he does in his second year, from true freshman to sophomore year, what he does. That'll be a player to look out for. I'm glad you said Christian Miller. This guy has backed up a lot of players that have been into the pros from UGA. This guy gets his chance to put on the red and black each and every Saturday, be that main rotational guy. But there is defensive players all over. You mentioned the guy from South Carolina. Florida's got some dogs on their front seven. This is going to be a really intriguing year. And Todd, you mentioned, I think this might be the most wide open SEC you've ever seen. I legitimately think there's 6 or 7 teams that could win this conference, depending on how their schedule goes early in their season. And that's kind of a segue right into what we got. Let's talk about these schedules and who we think has a favorable or a manageable schedule to get to December and play in Atlanta. And Todd will, or if you got somebody else you want to mention on the defensive side or anywhere else, we can just have an open conversation, guys. Todd, go ahead, man. You want to talk schedules? You want to talk some more X's and O's? Jimmy's and Joe's?
I mean, you look at the schedule since you went that way. I mean, Alabama, to me, has a manageable schedule. I mean, they're going to play at Georgia, but they get Tennessee at home. They get LSU at home. They get Oklahoma at home. It's a real manageable schedule. They do have to go on the road against South Carolina. They have a non-conference schedule at Florida State. Usually Florida State. They don't expect to be good this year. You really don't know in week one. And they have a home game in Wisconsin. So Alabama, to me, has a good Southeastern Conference schedule. A rough one is South Carolina. I mean, there's the gauntlet. To me, in South Carolina and Florida, I don't see them being a contender to get into the Southeastern Conference championship game. They'll have better than average seasons. They're good teams. But the gauntlet to me is going to get them, especially South Carolina with LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss, A&M, end it with Clemson. My goodness. And then if you want to go to the Gators, that right there is ridiculous. They're going to go LSU, non-conference Miami, Texas at A&M versus Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee. Oh, by the way, they end with Florida State. Good luck with that. Another schedule, last one I'll end with is Texas. This is manageable. It really is very manageable. They have the big game against Ohio State. They go to Florida, but they have Oklahoma at home. They go to Georgia. They have A&M and Arkansas at home. The road games are going to be tough at Florida and at Georgia, but this is a team that could win a lot of games. Just because, not only because of the schedule, but I mean, Arch Manning is going to be a good one. I know everybody says, well, if he was so good, why didn't he play the first 2 years? Well, he had a darn good quarterback sitting in front of him in yours. So, everybody has to wait their turn. But I mentioned the ones that are really hard, and I mentioned the ones that are not as hard. That's my take.
Yeah, no, that's what it's about. And you got to line up to predict who's going to December. And on the contrary, I'll say this, South Carolina's schedule up until October 11th is extremely manageable. They could be 5-0 going into LSU with an open date going into Baton Rouge, where they were one play away from beating LSU in Columbia last year. Oklahoma has a lot to improve on from last year. Then they play Alabama, and they get them in Columbia. So I think South Carolina, if they can get by those two games or go 2-1 in those 3 game stretch at LSU, Oklahoma, and Alabama, Ole Miss, a lot of question marks, a lot of transfers, most transfers in the SEC. Usually that it could be good, but sometimes we've seen it backfire on Lane Kiffin early in his career. Then you had an open date before another tough game at A&M. Then you finish with Coastal Carolina and Clemson. And those are both home games. So in terms of manageability, it's tough, no doubt about it. But you get some big ones at home, which helps out. I think South Carolina is a sneaky favorite to win this thing because of Sellers and what Beamer has done there. And he's got some big transfers coming in as well. I really like South Carolina's schedule. It is a doozy. You are correct, Todd. But the first 5 weeks are manageable. Your bye weeks are manageable. It really helps ease that schedule that is so tough. Now, Arkansas, on the other hand, you got Sam Pittman fighting for his job. Let me tell you this guy's schedule. This guy plays Notre Dame at Ole Miss, at Memphis. Wayne, perk your ears up.
Yeah.
You got an SEC school coming in your backyard. I'm sure you'll be at that ball game. At Tennessee, Texas, and LSU. It's not. That's at Texas, at LSU, and back-to-back weeks. Now, that's a gauntlet. That's a gauntlet. And again, I don't know if I think I already said it, but add in Notre Dame in Fayetteville, or unless they're playing in Little Rock. I don't know. They play 18 different places. But let me tell you something. That's a nut job of a schedule. Arkansas, if they go 6-6, I say keep Sam Pittman around because that's a gauntlet.
Well, I've got a feeling that whole thing up there in Arkansas, that schedule may have been thought up by what was his name? The coach at their offensive coach they got up there now.
Petrino?
I think Petrino came up with it. I think Petrino came up with that schedule so that he can be the head coach. He can be the head coach next year, though.
You're a conspiracy theorist. You are a conspiracy theorist. You make me laugh. That's hysterical. But I tell you what, whoever ends up having a job opening next year, and I know we only got about 10 minutes max, John Gruden's name is out there. And I'm telling you what, he wants to coach in the Southeastern Conference.
He does.
Boy, you look at some of these jobs that are going to come open, he's going to be salivating for a chance at it.
And I think that might be his best spot. It might be. Yeah. He might get a chance to coach up there in Fayetteville in Arkansas. If he loves the SEC that much, that's a great opportunity. I don't like to call for anybody's job, but I know the Razorbacks are a little low on Sam Pittman right now. I think Sam Pittman's a great coach. He's welcome back to Georgia anytime he wants to come coach our offensive line. I'll tell you that much right now. All right, guys, let's go from scheduling.
It's so funny, JJ.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It was so funny. It's so funny. Like, the rumor is now, and I'll say it real quick. The rumor is that if Brian Kelly doesn't go well, that Gruden could get the call from LSU. And I tell you what, he'd be a colossal fit there for me at Louisiana State.
100%. But I don't know. I think the Tigers are in the Baton Rouge LSU Tigers. I think they'll be too good to fire them this year. Well, we will see. Wayne, any thoughts on the schedule real quick?
No, I just think Florida has the toughest schedule, and that's probably why I don't have them in the championship game.
There we go. Well, we're a precursor. Now let's get to our championship picks. Todd, who you got playing in Atlanta preseason?
I've probably given you a hint since Jump Street, since we started this podcast today. I think I've given my hint, and I think Wayne is chuckling. I think Alabama is going to play for the conference championship, and I do, and I actually think they're going to win it. I picked them to win it in 2022. I've been on a roll. I picked Michigan to win the title in 23. Ohio State last year. JJ, you picked them last year. I'm on a roll right now. I think people are underestimating Alabama. Bama is Bama. You look at, they have the most returnees on the offense and defensive line, the most returnees overall. The Ty Simpson, to me, is a kid that has been salivating and waiting all this time for an opportunity. Their recruiting class was good. The portal was good. And I do like the head coach at Alabama. I think they made a great choice in Kalen DeBoer. I really like what he done at Washington, taking them to the title game. I think Alabama is back in year 2, and they win it. And I'll tell you who they're going to play. They're going to play. When I looked at the schedule, I gave it up earlier. I actually think Texas is going to get back there, and I think they'll beat Texas for the conference. But I tell you what, if Texas don't make it, Georgia's gonna. They've got the boys at home. They beat Texas. It'll be Alabama versus Georgia that way, but I'll say Alabama versus Texas because you can't count out Kirby Smart. And it will be fascinating if Alabama plays Georgia for the title, since they played earlier in the year. To me, that's just so much fun. The first game for me for a key for LSU is Clemson. They've lost 4 or 5 openers in a row. They've got to go to Clemson and win. I know that's a non-conference game, but it seems to set the table. But that's what I have. I'll go with Alabama and Texas, and I've got Alabama winning it.
Now, I like the pick, but they both play Georgia, and I don't see both those teams coming out of Athens with a win. I just don't see it. So I'm going to put the Dogs in there. They won the SEC championship last year with a then backup. I think the Dogs will play Texas yet again. I'm going to buy the Arch Manning hype, but I'm with you on Alabama. It would not surprise me if Georgia and Alabama play twice this year. But I do think that it is between those 3 teams in the long run. But again, I will digress, and I will say my one sleeper team is if somehow, some way, South Carolina can find a way to go 2-1 in that's 3-game stretch. I think you could see South Carolina play in this game for the second time in school history. But again, my pick is Georgia, and I'm going to go with Texas. And I think the Dogs are the champions until someone beats them. And let me tell you what, Kirby Smart's cooking with Crisco. When people dog and say, hey, this and that, he keeps receipts, and he loves to show them at the end of the year. And we all know that. We've heard those press conferences. So I think you're splitting the atom here with how close the SEC is. I got Georgia, Texas. I got Georgia winning it. I think their roster is good. They have the most 4- and 5-star talent in all the land. It's like 84% or something like that. So I think the talent I think the way Kirby Smart recruited the last season, I think we'll have some impactful players from 2 years ago that step up. As I mentioned, KJ Bolden, and I think that's what you'll see. Wayne, let's get your pick in here, and then Todd will finish up the conversation.
All right. Well, even though I'm an Auburn fan, and I've already silently and to myself picked them to be undefeated and win everything this year, I'm going to have to say the reality of my brain has said that it's probably going to be Tennessee and LSU in that final game, and I'm picking LSU to win it.
I got Tennessee as a sleeper, Wayne. I like that because of their defense.
Yeah. Well, if there's one thing I want to say about Georgia, though, and something to look out for that may get overlooked, is there's Georgia's special teams has a lot of upperclassmen in it, and I've got a feeling that their punts, kicks, and returns and stuff are going to be very excellent this year.
Yeah, one of the best punters and one of the better kickers in the country. Kirby Smart always has them. Todd, what do you think of Wayne's pick? Tennessee. Well, we've talked about this. We've talked about it all fair. They get Georgia early in Knoxville. It could happen if they knock off the Dogs. They got a manageable schedule afterwards.
Yeah, that's true. They have a very manageable schedule afterwards. If they knock Georgia off, they have Alabama, Oklahoma, and Florida. The problem is they go to Alabama. But, I mean, look, you can get in with one loss in this conference title game, and you might be able to get in with two if it goes insane with a tiebreaker. No, I mean, what's that?
Georgia did it last year with two, so you are correct.
That's what I mean. So you could get in there with two. One is obviously your safe bet, and none is perfect. But I don't see anybody going undefeated in this conference. But you mentioned Georgia and Alabama. Look, Bama owns Georgia. I mean, right now, Georgia's daddy is Bama, and until they 100%. Knock off daddy, and they're going to have to do it at home. It's just so interesting. There's so many possibilities. LSU is a real good possibility. We've mentioned that. This is really intriguing and wide open as ever, just like the entire college football landscape.
Absolutely. Guys, that wraps up our SEC preview. Let's get to our final thought. We'll get Wayne sent out of here. Guys, just over 2 weeks until toe meets leather in the SIAC. Todd, you and our season begins August 30th in Savannah State, where Edward Waters comes to town. It's the Tigers and the Tigers, but a conference battle to open the season for us in the SIAC. Predicted order of finish: Albany State's there at the top, as they probably should be. They got 6 offensive preseason first-team All-SIAC players ready to go. I can't wait for some HBCU and SIAC football. Todd, your final thought, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. We'll have Albany State. We get 4 Savannah State games. We lead off, like you said, with Edward Waters. Then in September, we'll get Savannah State going to Miles, the defending conference champ. That's a tough place to play. Then they get Kentucky State at home. And then they got to turn around and go to Savannah State and Savannah State's got to go to Albany State. And Sam Shade's no longer the coach in Miles. He went on to, Division I. So it'll be interesting to see how Miles bounce back. But they have a lot of talent. You can't count out Miles. You cannot count Tuskegee. Clark Atlanta is going to be really good. You mentioned Albany State. It's probably between 4 or 5 teams in the SIAC. I do like Albany State probably to win it this year because they were so close. But, man, Miles, they always have a very good defense. And as we say, defense wins championships. Offense sells tickets. And Arch Manning is going to be selling some tickets in Texas because he's going to be fun to watch this year. And I can't wait for some college football.
I can't either. Mentioned Miles ranked 24th nationally for the first time in school history coming in. Pretty cool. That's there. Cool. Wayne, your final thought for the evening, buddy?
Well, my final thought is going to be a shout out to my son, Will. This is his 24th birthday today. So we had some young birthdays and some older birthdays, but we love you, Will, and appreciate you being our son and being the way you are, man.
That's awesome,
so
guys. A couple
sweet.
birthday shout-outs.
I love you, Will. Happy birthday, Will. I love you. And as Abby would say, JJ's daughter on the phone. Hello, Mr. Todd. Happy birthday, Jordyn, too.
That's right. August 13th, I'll never forget it's Will's birthday now. I'll tell you that much, Wayne. Well, folks, that wraps it up for Wayne in Memphis, Larry in Adairsville, who's calling the Rome Emperors game, Todd up in Woodstock, and myself, JJ, right here in Lowburn, Georgia. That's it for another edition of ATL Prime Sports. If you like the content, we're good guys. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us that thumbs up and a follow on Apple and Spotify. And of course, always, we'll see you next week and get you one.